President Buhari declines assent to Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021, gives reasons. The All Progressives Congress says no turning back from the course of destiny. National Convention to go ahead as planned in February 2022. Inter-Party Advisory Council's new helmsmen promise robust representation for political parties and genuine contract with the people. Also on Political Update today, a review of political activities in 2021, the highs and the lows. Join us for this and more in this package. I'm Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari says with the prevailing situation in the country, it will be better to allow political parties to determine their mode of selecting candidates for elections. This is contained in the president's letter read by the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, in which the president gave reasons for declining the assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021. The president cited high cost of conducting direct primaries, security challenge of monitoring the election, violation of citizens' rights, and marginalization of small political parties as reasons.
It will also stifle smaller parties without the enormous resources required to mobilize all party members for the primaries. This is not healthy for the sustenance of multi-party democracy in Nigeria.
Let's now join our National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Ikwa for the details of today's activities at plenary. Ignatius Ikwa, the assent to that bill was declined. What was the reaction on the floor, and what have you gleaned from today's deliberations?
Well, Fisayo, thank you for joining us here. Well, you see, the parliament is the house of the Nigerian people. So most times the feelings we get here or we see here are a spillover of what happens in the outside society. Yeah, we know that the National Assembly in this 1 year, has passed quite a number of bills, but there are two major bills that are quite contentious and then that had more expectations, and one of them is Electoral Act Amendment Bill. And as you did say earlier on, that bill has been passed by both chambers of the National Assembly and transmitted to the President on the 18th of November, which is one of the circles of processes of bill passage in the Parliament. And then some of these bills, when they get to the executive, well, it's assented to and it becomes law. And in some cases, such bills are returned back to the Parliament, and that is the case with the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Well, when we get here this morning, in fact, yesterday there were stories around that the Electoral Bill Amendment Act has been declined assent by the President. And then, the parliamentary process is that until it's read on the floor of the Senate, you can't authoritatively say that the Senate has received the President's letter and read it. But that letter this morning was read on the floor, where President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, read the President's letter stating the reason why he decided to decline assent to that proposed legislation. Well, there are three basic reasons the President gave. One, he said, for security reasons. Two, legal implications. And then three, the huge financial cost to that exercise. Well, you see, the Electoral Act Amendment Bill has quite a number of clauses in that proposed law. But because of the nature of the two clauses there that were quite more broad-based and then more sensitive, it's as if it's only two items that were contained there. That is the Clause 52 and Clause 87. Now, that act in Clause 52 proposed the transmission of election results, electronic transmission of results, and then the second one is Clause 87, which provides for direct primaries for political parties. Now, even before when this bill was passed by both chambers of the National Assembly, in the Senate had already decided that it should be open how it was, because at the moment the Electoral Act says political parties should decide whether direct or indirect primaries. But Senate then, before it later adopted the report of its conference committee, had said that let it be open. But the House of Representatives then said that direct primaries. But later there was a conference committee that was convened to resolve these gray areas by both chambers. Now, when they came back, the conference committee resolved and said, yes, okay, let's adopt that of the House of Representatives. Now they recommended direct primaries for candidates, for selecting candidates by political parties. Now on the 18th, that bill passed by both chambers was transmitted to the executive. And then today, it's been returned back. Now the President said, if we provide, and if he assents to this bill, it means that henceforth, all political parties are mandated to adopt direct primaries. But he's saying that it will be very, very expensive. That conducting elections in more than 8,000 wards across the country, that it will be very, very huge, that it will portend huge financial implications for both parties. And he explained that there are some political parties who are just new parties, who are not as big, as buoyant as other parties. And he also said that there are legal implications, that citizens, both associations, have the free right to associate, and the political parties should do, as contained in the constitution already and the constitution of their various parties, that they have the right to decide mode of selecting who becomes their candidate. So that if they are sent to this bill, that it will infringe in those rights.
All right,
It's also brought the issue of security across the country. He said that if you are sent to this bill, that the issue of monitoring, going around monitoring for these elections, security-wise, it might be very, very risky. And so the president said he had to decline based on the fact that he has made some consultations on that bill. So at the moment, it's now left for the parliament to decide to override the president's veto or to go by what the president has decided.
All right, we will be trusting you, Ajayi Ignatius, equal to continue to put your ears to the ground and of course know what the course of action will be from the parliament, and of course we'll also perhaps get more interpretations in the course of the day as well. Ignatius Ekwa is our National Assembly correspondent, especially from the Red Chambers, talking about the Senate. Now, the assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, or lack thereof, affects political parties directly. Of course, the newly elected chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, Malam Yabagisani, joins us now today. Thank you very much for joining us. First of all, let me congratulate you. Just a couple of days ago, you became the new chairman of IPAC, taking over from Dr. Leonard Izenwa. Talking about the agenda setting first, before we even go to this electoral bill, amendment bill, we are moving. The push is now for the general elections in 2023. Of course, the off-cycle elections in the next months. Talking about June elections for Ekiti, and of course, after that, we'll go to Oshun. Talking about the political parties, are we ready? We've seen, the introduction of technology and all that. Are we ready in terms of political parties, in terms of your sensitization, in terms of, getting ready? Because it seems to me as if the litmus test always is the general elections, but we have some elections to begin to prepare.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And it's asking the question whether the political parties are ready. Yes, we are ready. If you remember, since 1999, when the multi-party system of governance was introduced after decades of military rule, you know that experience acquired, since that time up till now, definitely is something that, will come veritable, for us to use in future elections, And having said that, we also must commend the efforts of INEC, because INEC has done quite a lot in terms of digitalizing, the processes, and also ensuring that, votes, counts, as we go on, with the election processes. The drawback, of course, is the fact that you still have the situation where the big is right, the might is right, sort of, in the context of governments in power, not only at the federal, but also at the state level. That the governors, the government, they always want to throw their weights around to ensure that the smaller parties, do not, experience, freedom in terms of presenting their candidates and candidates to be voted for and votes to count. So INEC cannot do much as far as that is concerned. I'm talking about the use of money, the obscene use of money in the election, when we have elections in this country, before, during, and after the elections. At IPAC, which I lead now, I think we're going to really hold powers that be accountable, to do. Because, believe you me, one of the drawbacks in our democratic development is the use of money, obscene use of money, and the use of the force, forces. I'm talking about the agencies of government, security agencies that sometimes are compromised, one way or the other. If you remember what happened in the last elections, the ones in Ekiti and Oshun, which we're approaching now, I mean, it's nothing to write home about. It's an embarrassment to the country, really. But thank God, in Edo, what we had is something that we want to build on. That is when election processes, which are digitalized now, were tested. And the results, you can see, was something that, we're proud of, that we can build on it. So IPAC has come to deepen democracy, because that's the essence of IPAC. The Inter-Party Advisory Council is, like you know, an assembly of the political parties at the top level, the decision-making of the duly registered parties. 18 of us that are there now. 17 of us are in the IPAC as executive, General Assembly members. And what bothers us, or what we are concerned about, is the fact that INEC is able to implement all the lofty ideas and programs that they have, and government and National Assembly should also meet them halfway. What am I saying? We have a bill, electoral bill amendment, section 52 of the bill, 87 that we're talking about now. 52 says electronic transmission of results, which is very, very fundamental. It's something that is not negotiable. Why am I saying negotiable? It will throw away all those things, killing, snatching ballot boxes, unnecessary, crisis.
The negative human inputs
that comes with it will all be absent. So that, to me, is a great leap forward, from what we have been doing before, and that will impact positively on how elections are conducted in this country. That's why IPAC is very, very concerned, and we are committed, and we want hold Mr. President, to his words that he's going to leave a legacy of a better process of election, by the time he's leaving the scene. And this is an opportunity for him to do that, which is this Section 52 at least. If we have a problem with the 87, which is the direct primaries that we're talking about, so IPAC as a body, we are going to meet, and we are going to also knock on the door of Mr. President to listen to us, because this is about the political parties. You can't shave a man's head in his absence. We are the ones that are affected directly. We are the ones that are interfacing with the people. We are the ones that we are talking about.
Late MKO there.
Yeah, well, yes, of course. Quoting him, and it's true, because that's, so the issue is that when issues like this are discussed, IPAC should be consulted, not because we want to be giving any but it's because you are talking about political parties. Mr. President, the reasons he gave is that smaller parties will be muzzled. How did he know? He has never talked to us. It's not what you read from the papers. Or Mr. President being, a product of the IPAC, because he comes from a political party. His party is also a member of IPAC. So why can't he invite us? Why can't we talk to him? Why can't we tell him more about what he's talking about? National Assembly, the same thing. If consultations had taken place in the manner they're supposed to be, believe you me, we would not be where we are today. This bill would have been passed because we would have told Mr. President, and the National Assembly too would have heard from us, and they would know that this is not, you can't go this way, for now. I salute and really commend, the aspiration of the National Assembly members. There's nothing wrong in being ambitious, especially when you are trying to build democracy. What they are trying to do is to ensure that the tenets of democracy, which says that government of the people, by the people, for the people, is effectively implemented from the start of the process, which is the nomination of the candidates. They want to give everybody a say in who represents them, which there's nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, we have some conditions like insecurity, which Mr. President has, cost of doing it, and the fact that the parties, smaller parties, are not being allowed to express themselves, achieve, their mandate in the manner that it's supposed to be. So those are the drawbacks, which is also an indictment of the present administration, because they are in charge of security. They are in charge of the issue of allowing the smaller parties to exist.
Let me come in just for a moment so that we can also take a few of discussions on board. So I will take some updates from the political parties just before we go and close shop. The APC Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee says it has commenced the processes to usher in the February 2022 National Convention. The committee gave this indication after its meeting at the Buhari House on Monday.
It is 1.5 years of the 13-member Mai Mala Buni-led APC Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee in the driver's seat. Few days to end of 2021, the committee in its 18th meeting that lasted about 5 hours behind closed doors made some key resolutions.
And resolved as follows. The party congratulated the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, on the implementation of several pro-people policies, programs that has positively impacted the lives of many Nigerians. Deliberated on the planned national convention and resolved to set up subcommittees on budgeting and other relevant structures for the national convention.
The caretaker committee also agreed to engage critical stakeholders as part of the strategy to fast-track the party's activities schedule for the incoming year 2022.
With eyes already on 2022, 17 governorship aspirants on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Ekiti State, were the National Secretariat in Abuja as the party leaders as the party leadership seeks to forge a common front going into the June 2022 polls in Ekiti State.
It is an inaugural reconciliation meeting of the Ekiti State chapter of the PDP, attended by some PDP governors and other prominent party stakeholders. The meeting is essentially convened to broker peace amongst the 17 aspirants vying for the forthcoming Ekiti governorship poll come June 2022. PDP National Chairman Senator Ajayi warned that all aspirants must support any candidate the party fields in the poll.
Anybody that does otherwise will be considered as working against the PDP. So it will be regarded as anti-party. And the mood of the PDP today is that anybody who works against the PDP will not just walk away, because we don't want members of our party fighting against members of the party.
The party's National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologoagba, thereafter convened the resolution of the reconciliation meeting.
Majorly what we came up with is the fact that we're reconciling, we are repositioning, and everybody there in the meeting, they were happy and they are willing to work together with us so that the party can stand well, ready for the elections in 2022.
And as a party, we want to straighten things. We want Nigerians to trust us, to believe in us.
This reconciliation effort is to also be extended to all the state chapters of the party where there are disputes.
And from Cross River State, we hear that the governor, Professor Ben Ayade, says politicians should adhere strictly to the rules of the game, follow agreements reached, and ensure fairness. He was speaking while receiving some defectors from other political parties to the APC in Calabar.
The return of power from military rule to democratic dispensation in 1999. The PDP has been the governing party in Cross River State, and there has been this rotational agreement of the governorship seat moving from south to central and northern senatorial zones for equity and justice. It is on this premise the state governor advises politicians to keep to agreement for peace to reign, rather than pursuing selfish interests at the detriment of the people's unity.
It is against the law I have for every one of you that I'm ready to give my right eye and take the oath, and of course, take the decision I've taken. And I'm happy the people of Cross River have all joined me in unison and in very clear understanding that indeed 2023 is the harbinger of bliss. It's the harbinger of opportunity for every one of us to have the sense of equity and the sense of balance to maintain and sustain our politics so that at every time, everybody knows it's done. What is fair is fair.
The three defectors who gave their reasons, including integrity and continuity for defecting to the governing APC, called on all their followers to give the required support to the governor for him to finish strong.
All right, just to watch a political update on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have the chairman, Interparty Advisory Council, right here with us, Malam Yabagisani. 2022 is in just a couple of weeks, and when we're in 2022, 2023 becomes next year. How are we building in terms of momentum of all parties, not necessarily just two, or the main opposition and the ruling party. How are the other parties also gearing up for this? Especially, I'll take this along with you in terms of, this question, especially looking at the issue of followership, in terms of, letting the people know that you even exist, in terms of, these parties as we move on to the crucial elections, or perhaps even starting from Ekiti State, as we saw in one of the parties there.
Yeah, well, one of the things that IPAC is engaging in, very effectively is the issue of this cross-carpeting. Because if there's anything that is militating against the growth of democracy in this country, is this wave of cross-carpeting, of key actors of political parties, especially, in fact, even to the level of governance, So IPAC wants to take a look at this. We want to engage with judiciary, engage with the NBA, engage with National Assembly itself to see how do we protect this hard-earned, democracy that we have today. I'm talking about multi-party system of democracy. Because if you have a situation where a party has labored, marketed, won an election, and just on the drop of a pin, the man just the next day say, well, I'm leaving. I'm going to where,
Where's the place of ideology, for instance?
Well, it's ours to entrench it. That's why IPAC is there. It's for us to protect all of us. Because whatever happens to one of us happens to all of us. That's the spirit we want to bring in. That we don't have anything against you. As a political party, marketing, working, mobilizing, winning elections at all. But what we are not happy with is this kind of almost irresponsible way of growing, building your party. And then the funny thing is that, you see, in other climes, you don't have to win all the seats. For God's sake, if you want democracy to really survive, and then the benevolence that is in democracy.
Do we then cede seats to opposition, for instance? The opposition told us to, capture the heart of the people and then get the seats.
No, let's have the level playing ground, field. That's a level playing field. That's what we're talking about. The issue is that a body like IPAC should be in the forefront. That's what we are trying to do now. Because I've just told you one of the militating factors against the growth of democracy in this country, multi-party system in this country. And again, what you find also happening is at the state levels, when elections are coming, you find the members of IPAC, the executive of IPAC in the states, coming together, ganging up almost, to endorse the candidate of the governor, abandoning their own parties. So we want to ensure that does not happen. Because if it happens, like you saw, in the case of the 70-something parties of our registered, you won't have any party existing except maybe APC, in fact APC, because we have seen people, leaving even PDP for APC. So we are going to work, because that's where we have IPAC, so that democracy will be able to, survive and take roots.
All right, let's take this last one. The spread of fake news as it relates to political issues is capable of derailing the nation's democracy if not properly managed. This view was echoed during a civil society roundtable on politics without bitterness.
Discussions at this round table under the auspices of Civil Society for Good Governance is calling on the political class to stop the spread of fake news, positing that it has the tendency of eroding the nation's democratic gains. Fake news and unsubstantiated reports by some politicians and their followers have been labeled by stakeholders here as counterproductive. They say this phenomenon should be discouraged in all spheres of life.
What actually peddles or grows fake news is ignorance. People are not thorough to verify information or to think deep before processing any information. And don't forget that with the advent of social media, it has become more difficult to actually track news. Everybody now is a journalist. When you have an Android phone, you have an iPhone, or you have whatever, you just go to your social media and you begin to peddle all manner of news.
Accountability in citizen journalism for enhanced governance, community-based approach in handling fake news, as well as sanitizing the media space, formed part of the approaches advanced by the panelists.
We
With that report from Timothy Yusuf, we conclude the political update today. Many thanks to the chairman, Interparty Advisory Council, the new chairman, Interparty Advisory Council, Malam Yabagisani, for coming on the program. And we just got you at a short notice just after you took over there. And we expect that we'll see some changes, perhaps even more to add to that 18 registered parties before the general elections next year.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, thank you for watching Political Update today. Thank you also, of course, for being on the NTA, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Don't forget that we'll be back on Friday for a richer, brighter, fresher program. Play your politics for the greater good. Bye-bye now.
Drive in the rain.
It depends on the velocity of the rain.
This is the network service of the NTA.
To say popo to say zazo to zi
I'm born into an Egba, Ogun State, Abeokuta musical family, the Olumide family. It's the heartbeat, therefore, of all of us as the Olumide family is one that has revolved around music, and we've grown with music all our years. I grew up the daughter of now late Admiral Femi Olumide, and he was the first indigenous officer in charge of the Naval Dockyard, which was right next door to NTA in VI at Wilmot Point. And I grew up with bar beat shows. Uncle Atalade, when they were done with bar beat show, the recording on Saturday, they would move to our home and they would have the after events, after show. So I grew up with all of that. The celebration of jazz was also something my father was very much into. And many nights when he would come home from work, he would meet me curled up in his chair waiting for him. And the first thing I would hear would be, he'd have these big bass headphones just placed on my little head at the age of 7. And I'll just be hearing Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald. And yeah, so for me, jazz, music, all of these were part of my heritage. And so as Dayo, I'm very musical.
is so much more than all if you simply pay attention to more. Something's working in the sound. Something heard you.
Why jazz? Why did you choose jazz? And I tell them, hey, I didn't choose jazz. Jazz chose me.
Jazz in Nigeria started from when the people called Creoles, the Saros, you know, people from Sierra Leone, after abolishment of slave trade, when they decided to come back to Nigeria, one thing they brought with them is jazz. And then today, jazz has given birth to a lot of other genres of music. So jazz was brought to us. And then one of the foundation of jazz in Nigeria is actually not even a Nigerian, is E.T. Mensah of Ghana. He had a big band, and then many of our composers and artists, they followed that trend. So the first set of jazz composers are probably Bobby Benson.
You know they say plenty husband is too much. Plenty driver with no labor. If you must go, nobody can. If you marry taxi driver, I don't care. If you marry taxi driver.
He wrote a lot of big band jazz, and then they were all influenced by big band of Benny Goodman, and then you know, many of them were influenced. And then come Fela Ransom Kuti. He wasn't a Nicola Kuti then, it was Ransom Kuti. He started hosting a show on Radio Nigeria, a show on jazz music. But Fela was not someone who you would tie down to just a jazz show. He wanted more. He wanted to do more than just hosting jazz music. So he started the first basic, unique jazz band, which is called Fela Ransom Kuti and the Jazz Quintet.
If you call a woman Africa woman, she no go green. Abi? She go say, Abi lady. Fela in singing that brought us to our own place of recognizing our true identity.
In the early years, what we had was people trying to sound like the American jazz progenitors. People were trying to sound like the big bands, New Orleans jazz and all this. But at a certain period, the issue of identity came in. You know, there is no way you play music and then the audience wants to receive it also as a say. We are Africans, we are Nigerians, and then we needed to, I think Fela did a lot of work in this aspect. At the time when Fela's revival started, everything changed. So although, yeah, he was still playing jazz, but then he started playing highlife jazz, and he brought a lot of African elements into it. So other artists and composers took a clue from Fela's music, and then we started doing African things. We started putting African idioms, African culture into jazz. And so the jazz you will listen to in this part of the world is actually different from what you will listen to in America or anywhere else, because our culture is now mixed with our kind of jazz. The likes of Yinka, Davies, Ego, Mike Aremu, and then, Lagbaja, they are unique, they produce unique sounds. It's a lot of African elements in their jazz music.
I didn't set out to be a singer. I wanted to be an actor, a fine artist, an agriculturist. So singing the back burner. But I started acting, building my craft from 16, 17. My first impression was First Act 77. Made a strong impression, but I still didn't get it until one fine day I found out that the singers outside the country gave expression to words. Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday. They painted a picture for me. Just close your eyes and you can see everything they're singing about.
I'm looking for something soothing. I mean, that's what jazz does, you know. It relaxes you, it serenades you. So here to have a beautiful time. And of course, with 2020, and now we're here. I mean, it's something to be thankful for. And why not jazz it up?
I love talking about life and the beauty that we create every day when we go out, when we come in. When we greet our fathers and mothers on the streets. Culture, cultural exchange. Really and truly, it's all about us as a people, our communal living. I miss it.
Wow.
Splendid.
Wow. It was amazing. I think jazz is spiritual. It kind of just connects with you, right? And when it's Yinka Davies, it takes you somewhere else. She's just an enigma, really.
There's something that speaks to you when you listen to jazz. And with jazz in Nigeria, coming from the 60s till date, I think we have come a long way. And this was exceptional this evening.
Every soul alive, every human being alive is unique. You can want to sound like somebody else. I want to sound like Ella Fitzgerald, and yet I sound like me. So the best thing you can do is to give yourself. How to express what I've been trying to say for years. This is exactly what I've been trying to say. Expressing yourself in sound. That is the explanation of jazz. Jazz gives expression to it. The light is staring at me in the face and I'm wondering exactly why the man put it there. That is jazz. You're laughing, exactly. That is jazz. Now putting it into words and making the person listening laugh along with you. That is the explanation and the expression passed on to the other.
You look so beautiful tonight.
have a sister symbiosis. The two of us, we've just connected over the years. And the jazz in us is like a 5 and 6 heartbeat. If she does something, I respond. I do something, she resonates. And Yinka Davies, I mean, just 2 months ago, she lost her son. And she's translated her pathos into a place of performance. So you don't feel her pain. We're able to embrace her in this. And it's not about grief, but it's about a growth. I've seen her just emerge. And for me, she is the Africa culture ambassador of jazz. I always call her the first lady of jazz. And she corrected me the other day. She said, no, I'm not. Auntie Frank Kuboye is. And I thought that was so honoring. And that's just Yinka. She's just basic, real. She takes what is dialectical from our tribal Yoruba ethos. But Yinka can do Chinese, Japanese, French, German. I mean, she's replete with so much spontaneous ingenuity with her songs and then with her persona. She's just so real. So for me, I celebrate her. Who else? Uncle Tunde Kuboye of Jazz 38. Amazingly, he impacted my life in 2 very unique ways. He used to coordinate school debates. And that's where I was trained up as a debater from Queen's College. And he was the one that told me that, little girl, nobody's expecting you to fail or to mess up. That freed me. But there was something much more than that. The jazz grew with me. And then later on in life, coming into Jazz 38 to do some performances and things like that. The jazz there and his mentoring with Auntie Fran just did so much to bring me into a place of connecting with my inner voice and my soul. Today at 74, I celebrate Jazz 38 as part of the history. Uncle Wale Boknov, R.I.P. blessed memory, he set up the Nigerian Naval Band. My dad brought him into the Navy. They set up the band together. They were all into the jazz. We used to have those events. So that's Uncle Wale Bokno of blessed memory. Kunle Bolarinwa, R.I.P. also of Cave Ibadan. Those of us who were in Ibadan, in those days, University of Ibadan, and all the big boys and big girls. Then, you want to mention Cave. Everybody like, come on, you know, we're just like a tribe. And it was all the jazz and everybody just coming together. So when you mentioned these, Steve Rhodes' voices trained me. Bongo Zikwe, Kokro Abdon, Bobby Benson. It just doesn't stop.
At Alade, who are the preachers. And then from there, we started having so many other musicians come up. Elder Steve Rhodes of blessed memory, Fela Shuwande, they had this jazz band and dance group. And then, so fast forward to today, what do we have today? We have a lot of intelligent, young, brilliant artists.
Now that's the idea, trying to make the audience feel the music with me. So I got to a point where I realized that audience should also be part of the process. So at times I come on stage with the aim of bringing my audience into the music. At times I make the music there and there on stage. So I get them to say something and we start making music on stage. So I'm enjoying this as much as the audience are enjoying the music too. Trying to introduce this kind of style to a new audience, it's not that easy, but we love jazz. It's been a journey. It's been a journey of over a decade. Listening, working hard at this. Then at some point, I realized that I know so much, rather. And bringing it out in a way that is different was key. So a little try and error here and there, a little try and error here and there. Okay, can I do something that no one does? Is it possible? Can I create an experiential music? Can I create experiment with music? So those were the questions I started asking myself, and it brought me to this part of my music, of my jazz music. So now I'm thinking, okay, the next show, how can I create an experience that they won't forget?
can't take away the essence of jazz as it relates to one spirituality. It gives you that opportunity to truly think deep. Yeah, because that's one music that a genre that can take you to across the globe and back and still feel good with yourself. They say when you're moody, you listen to jazz, not necessarily so, but when you really want to be alive, you listen to jazz.
I love jazz. I listen to Manu Dibango, listen to all those great guys, and then I say to myself that, look, if there is anything that Africa can produce that will be unique to Africa, it is African jazz. I started playing from a very young age. I could remember that at the age of 7, I performed at the ECOWAS conference here in Abuja, Sheraton Hotel. That was the era of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, when many head of states came to Nigeria for the ECOWAS conference. I went to schools that have history of music, like CMS Grammar School has history of great people like Fela Showande. In fact, there is no way you mention jazz music and then Fela Showande won't come in. Art Alade, you know, those people who really, they were jazz. They attended the same school. So there is history behind my evolution. I also studied music, studied at the Muson, then went to University of Winneba, you know, to do classical music, and then I delved into African music. The experience for me is all-encompassing. It goes beyond the music. What do they see? What do they feel? You get it? So the idea of experience for me is to evoke different emotions. You know, I want people to, I set the mood for people to say, wow, okay, this is it.
He's taken music and turned it into a tapestry of technology, of the message, of what is indigenous to us, but clearly what is still a global product that anywhere in the world you can embrace it, make it part of a Nigerian mandate to impact the world.
You see, I was there when jazz first stepped her beautiful feet on this Nigerian soil. I was there when E.T. Mensah launched his band in 1961. And when the expatriates were coming back in the 40s, I was there. You know, I remember it vividly as we waited by the shores, you know, waiting to welcome them. And what did they come with? Gold? Nah. They came with jazz.
Playing this character is like a lesson in the history of jazz for me, because there's so many things about jazz I didn't know that, you know, playing this character made me understand, and particularly jazz when it comes to Nigeria, what jazz was, how it grew in Nigeria. Today is a living proof that jazz is still very much alive and, you know, present with us.